My name is Sochi Williams, and the film I will be analyzing is Guillermo del Toro's 2006 film, Pan's Labyrinth. The scene I chose is one in which the protagonist, a young girl in Civil War Spain named Ofelia, meets Pan. This is a meeting that acts as a catalyst for most of the action on screen. What is most significant about this scene is that this is where we learn just who the real monster is. Using specific horror genre techniques, Del Toro begins to subvert the idea of who the true monster is, and it isn't the fawn.
¿Sois vos? ¿Habéis regresado? No os asustéis, os lo ruego. Mirad.
So, very early on, we learn that Ophelia is a kind of imaginative girl who uses her many books to escape the sadness in her life. She lost her father in the war, and her mother remarried and is expecting a child with a cold, brutal military captain, Capitan Vidal. Knowing this about her character, it is not surprising when Ophelia decides to follow a fairy into the labyrinth after being awakened in the middle of the night.
¿Sois vos? ¿Habéis regresado? No os asustéis, os lo ruego. Mirad.
Mi nombre es Ofelia.
On the subject of shots, for the most part, Del Toro maintains eye-level shots, keeping the scene pretty neutral. However, there is a significant wide shot where Pan describes the labyrinth as the last portal Ophelia's true father left for her to access her fairy realm. This long shot serves to show the dilapidated state of the portal as a testament to just how long they've all been waiting for her return. Ways Del Toro conforms to the horror genre is the low-key lighting he uses in the labyrinth. While this does lend an eerie effect, scaring the average viewer as to what's lurking behind the dark corners, there is still more genre bending to be done. This is achieved by the blue cast over most of the scene. It acts as a softening effect on the scene while still maintaining the eerie shadowy lighting. While the shadows are still there, like the ones that allow for the jumper scene of Pan's appearance and his disappearance, it is not as chilling as your typical slasher. The appearance of Pan is pretty significant in how Del Toro plays a trick with the cinematography. The reason that it is a jumper is because we follow the fairy through the labyrinth as it flies around and lands on a structure that at first glance is not unlike the other old stone structures in the maze until it moves. It is a close-up shot, and as Pan moves, his face turns to the camera, and that is how we get our first look at him as scary trickery. It is easy to pull these kinds of tricks as Ophelia walks into the maze surrounded by darkness. The cinematography of Pan leaving is more of the same trickery, as Del Toro has him receding into the darkness until he's no longer there. On the topic of mise en scène, there are two things to discuss. It is important to discuss the costumes first. Pan's Labyrinth is a period piece set during the Second World War, And in this film, at the end of Spain's Civil War, note the style of Ophelia's hair and nightgown, sans any modern cartoon characters. As far as genre-defying goes, this is pretty blatant. The audience is forced into the real conflicts facing the country and the very real costs, making them hard-pressed to imagine any horror worse than a country during wartime. Another significant thing about Ophelia's costume is the color she wears. In general, Ophelia wears a lot of natural earthy colors, and specifically a lot of green. This scene is no exception, as she sports a green sweater over her nightgown. Green is the color most associated with nature, which is fitting as Pan informs her that she is a forest princess who has been reincarnated and returned to the forest. It is important to note that Del Toro follows a classical Hollywood narrative to tell this story. Ophelia's motivation is clear. She thinks of this as another of her fairy tale adventures. This is punctuated when Pan hands her the book that details her tasks. In addition, Pan asks her to complete these tasks to prove her virtue, a classic take on the monomythical hero's journey. These tasks provide ample opposition to her goals.